because I'm not interested in decreases. I am not decreasing my sleeves. I did that once, didn't go well. Hello, my name is Yewande. Welcome to Knitting the Blues. So great to just be talking to you, and I want to welcome anyone who's new here and say thank you very much for stopping by. I hope you enjoy this episode. I have a lot to say today, so it might end up being a longer episode than usual. Get comfortable, grab something warm to drink or cold to drink, something neutral, something not neutral, whatever your preferences are. And ideally, maybe you're doing something with your hands while you're listening. I watch my fair share of knitting podcasts, and one of my favorite things to do is obviously work on a project while I am watching. Okay, but let's jump in. There's a lot, so let me see. I have my repeat appearance notebook. It's actually getting, okay, I'm not quite halfway, so yeah, there's still some life in this left. But boy, did I take notes for today. This is episode 5. So really what I want to do in today's episode, I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about finished objects. I have a few. I want to talk about some works in progress that I have going on. And also 3 projects or so, 3 or 5 that are like my future projects, future cast-ons that they're kind of waiting in line to be cast on and to be made. And then I have 2 very exciting things to talk about. One is an update on our pinboard. Remember way back, the pinboard and the things of interest? Progress is being made on some of those quests that I started with. And then at the very end, I have an announcement to make. I don't know if I can hold back, but it's like, maybe we can have a cowl. Can we have a cowl? Okay, I have an idea for a cowl. I want to check whether anybody's keen. Hopefully it's not the loneliest cowl in the world with just one person, as in me, and maybe there's one other or a few other people that are interested, and maybe we can have a cowl. So that's what today's episode is all about. Let me jump right in and start by talking about finished objects. I'm wearing one of my finished objects, which is the really lovely pattern by Anna Maria Otvos. I'm always like shortening her name. Anna Maria Otvos. And this pattern is called Order of the Garter. It's a cardigan. It's a beautiful, meant to be all over garter cardigan. If you want a bit of lowdown on the process of making this, please check out, I think it was my last podcast, episode 4, where it was a vlog that I did. It's a vlog that I made where I talk about the process of making this cardigan and why you will notice that the sleeves are not in garter, but I won't bore you with that because I've talked ad nauseum about that in a previous podcast. But this is finished object. It is so beautiful. I can be persuaded to get into red. I mean, this particular red. I mean, how beautiful is this color? So this is finished object number 1. Loved it. I love it. It's a DK weight yarn, so it's not the heaviest, but our weather is warming up. Spring starts 1st of September, so it's warming up. It started to warm up, and so I just have this on over like a short sleeves, and it's very, very pleasant. So that's finished object number 1. I forgot to mention, by the way, buttons. I forgot to mention buttons. I'm going to come a bit close. Oh, this is a messy episode because I'm all over the place. But I forgot to talk to you about buttons. These are the buttons I used. I think they're really nice. My husband made a slightly sarky comment about the buttons, which is fine. I welcome his honesty, so I didn't mind. But I really liked them, and I was further heartened when my son saw them. He's a big lover of lions, and it's a lion. It's the image of a lion here. And he saw them and he said, "Mama, I love your buttons." And I said, "Oh, bless you, child. I love them too." So I think for my partner, it's like they're a bit much, but I just think if you're wearing a sweater, a cardigan, and the name of that pattern is Order of the Garter, better come with some correct buttons to match that name. And when I saw these buttons with the lion, and it's very regal, and it looks like there's a crown hovering over, I'm going to try and do a close-up of because I don't know if I showed it properly. And so when I saw those buttons, I thought, those are buttons that look like they belong on a pattern called Order of Garter. Those are buttons that belong on such a pattern. And so I don't know, let's make Anna Maria proud, right? Let us really honor the naming of this wonderful creation. Finished object number 2 is this precious, precious pearl cardigan. I'll probably it was folded, so you'll see some lines in it. And I'll put some B-roll. This is my sweater by Lene Holm Samsu. Knit. It's called the Pearl Sweater. It's just chock full of seed stitches. Sorry, the sun is coming. I feel like a sunflower when I'm filming. I'm constantly tracking the sun in this room. So that's why my background changes occasionally, because I'm like, oh, I'm having to film a bit early in the morning today. This is seed stitch heaven. My goodness, do I love seed stitch. And boy, did I get plenty of seed stitch with this. It's wonderful. I knit it in African Expressions, and I held that with an alpaca yarn from Knotty Habits. I talked a little bit about this a few episodes ago, but this is the first time I'm sharing the finished object. It's warm, it's soft, the drape is excellent. It does shed. Now, it's brand new, it has been blocked. I wonder if over time it will shed a bit less. I think of it as having a pet. You know, I don't have pets. I love animals. I love the idea of pets. My dad was asthmatic growing up, so we never had anything furry around. I think we had a tortoise for a short period of time. He ran away, which is an interesting anecdote. But yeah, and then I just haven't. My kids would love if we got a dog or something, and maybe we will. But I know many people who have pets, and I'm always a little bit, oh my God, all the hairs, and they just love their pet so much, and it makes no difference how much the pet sheds. And that feels like this. This is my pet. It does shed. It doesn't make me love it any less. I manage with the shedding, and I get the lint remover and have a little go at whatever. And what I realized with this, so when I started wearing it, I normally wear, particularly in winter, I would wear like a long sleeve t-shirt in a way, black. It would usually be black, but that does not work out with this. It's just so I started wearing white and gray long sleeves. And with this, I would just wear that underneath it. It's not itchy. I don't want to scratch the mic. I don't find it itchy, really. And testament to not finding it itchy. Oh, the one thing I wanted to say about this, I didn't make any changes. I really followed instructions, except because of the lesson I learned making my Salty Days sweater, and I talk about it in my very first episode, because of the lesson I learned there about just doing your own thing with sleeves, once I pick up for sleeves, I have a habit of just like putting the pattern down and doing my thing, because I'm not going to decrease, so I did that with this, and I made a mistake because the instructions for the sleeve when you pick up are for shaping, shoulder shaping. So I missed out on the shoulder shaping experience. I had already picked up for sleeves, and I was just like going with my sleeves, and I looked back, I glanced at the pattern, I was like, ooh, dear me, she's got some instructions for shoulder shaping that I've missed. I didn't rip back. It will have been, I think, the first time I ever did shoulder shaping or ever had a pattern that did shoulder shaping. I would love to do it because I can imagine it really makes a wonderful fit. But having not missed it in any of the other patterns, I thought I wouldn't miss it in this one. And I was right. Maybe I'm just not professional enough, but wearing it, I don't think, oh, I need shoulder shaping. It's wonderful. I love it very much. But I guess just a little warning for if you're like me and you just kind of forget about sleeve instructions. Now I must now start to remember that sometimes at the start of the sleeve instructions, before the decreases, because I'm not interested in decreases. I am not decreasing my sleeves. I did that once, didn't go well. So that's why I just ignore any decreases. But my eye didn't catch that it wasn't decreases at the start of the instructions. It was shoulder shaping, which is actually very nice. And I would have happily followed those instructions if I'd paid better attention. Naughty me, but all good, all the same. I love this. I love this. It's getting warm now, so I'll get a little bit more wear, but eventually I'll have to put it away for next year, or, if I travel to somewhere cold and it's a winter season. But that's the Perle sweater. Okay, so because that was working so well, and as I was making it, I could see that I would still have some suri alpaca left. And I thought, what can I do with the suri alpaca? I thought, maybe I could make a nice vest, but it didn't seem to me that could be enough for a vest. And so I made, now I'm sitting on it. I made another Sophie shawl, me and the Sophie shawls. Although this might be my last one, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But I decided to make a Sophie shawl. I needed another one because I have the one I wear, but I wear it every day. And so I just think, well, when am I going to wash it? When am I going to, I need another one so that I have something to exchange. And so I thought, let me make myself another Sophie shawl. And what I thought is I would hold it with two of the yarns I dyed up. So I don't know if you're also following my dyeing journeys, which I try and document in slightly shorter videos. I created a playlist of my dyeing journeys, and there are only 2 videos there right now, but I'll keep adding because I've got this new obsession with dyeing yarn, and I have big plans for myself in terms of what I want to learn. But so far, I have dyed 3 skeins of yarn. I'm going to put a picture up because I don't actually have them here because I've knitted them up. But I dyed 3 skeins of African expressions. I think it's either the Desire or the Enchanted. It's the undyed line of the African expressions. And I had 3 bowls. I had 3 skeins, and I initially dyed 2 skeins using coffee and using black beans. I didn't really get blue. I got what I decided to call smoke. So I talk about this in my dyeing video. This is the smoke color. I'll show you the coffee in a moment because I made something else with that. And then I had 1 more skein. So I thought, let me try the black beans again because it didn't really, it's a bluey gray, but for a blue nut like me, this is not doing it. And so I tried another dyeing session. And this time, what I did differently is I really kind of researched. It's such a finicky little thing, and you add this and add that. And I read somewhere that baking soda can really bring the blue out, and indeed it did. So this is would you call this teal? I mean, it's a very, very, I called it almost there. I like naming my all of 3 colors that I've experienced in my short dyeing journey. So I called this one smoke. I called this one almost there because I feel like blue is this is not, I wouldn't want to make a garment out of this color. I mean, maybe a sweater if I had enough, but I want to get the real deep blues. I'm getting there. My latest research says that iron water can really, I liked that term. I think in one of the blogs I read, she said it can sadden a color. Like, I guess it just, it makes it heavier almost. And so I'm attempting to make my own iron water. It's not going very well. I'll show you some pictures of my little jars of iron. I started with some old keys, and then I bought some steel wool. Apparently it takes a long time. Like, it can take a month. So you just shove it in the cupboard. But I'm actually going to find a way to just buy, I think you can buy like iron powder to just put into the water and make it iron water. So I need to research where to find it. And then maybe I'll do another video because then I bought a new pack of black beans, and I have some silk that I would love to dye. So that would be my next dyeing experience. Keep a lookout if you're curious. I recommended it. You feel like a sorcerer, with your pots, with your old pots and your spoons and your potions. It's fun. I'm enjoying it very much. Yeah, so with those 2 skeins, I thought, what if I could just do something with those 2 skeins and they could live together? So it's literally, this is 2 skeins. So it's in total 200 grams of the wool. It's DK weight. I held it with the suri alpaca. The drape is wonderful. It's warm. I don't want to bother the mic, but it's super warm. And it's not scratchy. And I love it. I actually like that it's lighter. So I have that dark blue one, if you saw from my previous episode. And now I have this light one. So that's a third finished object. One thing I wanted to say about the Sophie shawl. I said that it might be my last one. I did find it a little tedious. Maybe I'm getting tired of the Sophie shawl. Like, it's quite monotonous. It's a lot of garter. And, you start and then you work up to your center. And it's like going uphill. So going uphill always takes a bit longer. And then once you start decreasing, it goes a bit faster, like going downhill. But I found it a bit tedious, like, this time. I love this pattern very much. As you know, I've made several of these, but I found it a little tedious. Maybe I will do a color changing one next time because that keeps the interest going. One thing, for the first time, I wasn't stressed knitting this because normally when I knit it, I'm stressed because I'm like, oh my goodness, when did I last decrease? Oh my goodness, when did I last increase? This time, I just used the marker. I know it sounds very simple. It just hadn't occurred to me. This time, each time I started a new round, because it's a 6-row repeat, I just put a little marker. So maybe you needed to know that. What else? I think I have 2 more. I think I have 2 more finished objects. So I just have to find them. Everything's spread out here. It's like a mess. Okay. So finished object number 3. Finished object number 3. I made out of the coffee. So this was the coffee color we got from dyeing with coffee. And that was really interesting. Getting that color. This isn't a color that I really wear. Sorry if the sun is coming through a bit. Imagine apologizing for the sun, but you know what I mean. This isn't a color that I would wear, is what I thought. I mean, I could be persuaded to change my mind. I just think it's not quite a color for me. It's a camel. There are many things you could use to describe this color. It's a camel. I call this treacle. I love naming things. I don't know. It's like naming children. I called it treacle. And once I had it, I thought, well, this I'm going to have to make a gift out of because I'm not going to wear anything I make from this. And it's just one skein anyway. So some friends came to dinner and there was a friend's, and one of them was her birthday. And I said, let me knit you something. I'm going to knit you something. And I think this color works for you. She's got brown skin, slightly lighter in complexion than me. And I thought, this might actually be your color. I'm going to make you something out of this. And I said, I could make you a beanie or I could make you some slippers. I was going back to my old standard knits. And she said, okay, beanie. I mean, we went back and forth in the dinner. And of course, there was wine involved. So after the dinner, when I was ready to make something, I thought, what did she ask for again? It's my friend Zuki. I was like, what did Zuki ask me to make it? Let me just check back. I don't want to make something and then she doesn't wear it. So I checked back with her. I said, did we agree that I'd make you a beanie? She said, yes, you can make me a beanie, but if you made me a beret, I would wear it all the time. So Zuki is this like my fabulous friend. She's an activist. She's a writer. And she's pretty amazing. She just has more energy than I don't know where she gets it from. So the minute she said it, I thought, yeah, of course, you would wear a beret all the time and it would suit you. So I decided to make her a beret. Now, never having made a beret, I thought, let me look for a pattern. And I don't know about you, I do look for free patterns, oftentimes, particularly for gift knits, because let me not justify it. It's a thing. I just sometimes let me just see. If there's no free pattern that I like, then absolutely I buy it. But I thought, let me just check on the off chance. And I found this pattern. It's a beret. It's made by a woman called Sarah J. Wolf. And it's called Barely Beret, or Barely a Beret, I think, or something like that. Barely Beret, or something like that. I'll put the name up. And I liked it. It seemed nice. It seemed like we could get it to work. So I knitted it up. It was very fast. It was very pleasant to make. I'm not going to put it on my head now, but I'll put some pictures where I was wearing it and actually feeling myself and thinking, oh, the color's not that bad after all. And I'll skip ahead a little bit. This was the announcement I wanted to save till the end, but while I'm talking about this, I may as well talk about the announcement. Yeah, while I was making it, I thought how pleasant it is to make this. I think it's all of 87 or kind of 90 grams of DK wool. It's not complicated. It starts with a 2x2 rib. You know me and rib, so I love the rib. And then you you knit for a bit, and sorry, a 2x2 rib, and then you increase instantly, and then knit stockinette. I added this row of pearl bumps. I added that. I thought it might just help enunciate that beret part, because I was worried that it would flop, and I kind of felt like my friend Zuki would want something dramatic. So I added the row of pearl bumps, but the pattern doesn't come with the pearl bumps. And then at a certain point, you start your decreases, and you get this lovely, I think of it as the starfish. You get this lovely starfish decrease. It's cheerful and it's easy. And so while making it, I thought, I could make a few more of these. Like, it's so nice. And I thought, what if we have a cowl? What if we have a knit along? And so that was the birth of the Every Beret, hashtag Every Beret knit along, that I want to launch with this video, and that I want to bring people along with me and say, hey, let's make, and like, I'm in with you. I've already got so I'm going to make my next one. This is leftover Skakenmeyer. I'll put the details. I don't know what the color is, but it's a Skakenmeyer DK merino that I used to make a sweater, pediment sweater. I'll share about that sweater in a while. I love that sweater. But I had pretty much a full ball left at the end of that experience. And it's been sitting there, and I've been thinking, what am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with this? And I'm going to make a belly beret with it. So what do you think? So, like, I've never done a knit along. So I've been trying to work out what the logistics are. Like, how do you get everyone to do it? And how do you... So what I'm going to do for sure, because I know there's some people who are new to knitting that watch my podcast. And so this is a very simple pattern. If you're new to knitting, I think you could do it. I really do. And what I'm going to do is record record a tutorial of knitting it, and I'll put it up on my platform. I haven't done it yet. So, I think the cowl can start on the 1st of September. You know, as spring, at least spring in the Southern Hemisphere takes on. Why don't we knit berets? And you could wear it, or you could give it as a gift to somebody who will wear it. And so I'm going to be posting it on Instagram and inviting people to join. I'm going to ask that if we make it, we post our pictures using the hashtag #everyberet. The beret is fascinating. I started reading up on the beret. I was like, wow, this Zuki's request. I love how things like that just lead you down this path. Zuki's request really kind of got me like, wow, what about this beret? And I read and learned that, you know, it originated in the Basque country. Shepherds would wear it. It got pulled into the military when the Brits kind of fought and noticed that the French had it on and that it never fell off the head, and that was such a good idea because soldiers are, you know, busy and they're doing these awful things, let's be clear, but at least the hat doesn't fall off, very essential. And I mean, I'm being a little facetious, but somehow it got pulled into like military fashion, you know, and it was practical because it fit really well, but it kept the heads warm, but it didn't take up too much space. And so it became, you know, part of military wear. And now it's used, and that's true. When you think about it, the beret has moved from all these different spaces, from being used by shepherds, you know, to being used by soldiers. It entered into, you know, fashion and became chic and, you know, Parisian style. If you think of the Rastafarian big hat, I mean, it's a sort of beret-like shape and form. You know, is it a cousin to the shepherd's beret? I don't know. I just loved reading about the history of the beret, and I invite you to do the same because it actually is quite interesting. And maybe while we knit this, we can talk about the history of the beret and what you know about the beret. Another wonderful memory it brought up for me is my mother wore a beret. Like, now I remember she used to wear this gray, it was felted, but it was this gray beret, and it was very stylish, really, really stylish. And I don't do beanies. I don't cover my head too much because I've got curly hair, and I find that the wool, you know, dries the hair out. So I thought of making myself a beanie and lining it with silk, because that's kind of the fabric that I want to touch my head, silk, but nothing that's going to pull out all my wonderful moisture. You know, let's be clear. So I don't really get into hair covering, but somehow with this beret, I felt like I could be convinced. I was like, maybe I could do something with this. So that was the announcement. That was one announcement. There's still one exciting thing coming that I'll save for the end. So I haven't spoiled all the surprise. But I thought while I'm talking about Zuki's beret, the gift, let me talk about the cowl. Please join the cowl. I just think it's gonna be fun. This thing, I'm not lying. Sorry, I haven't woven all my ends. I've woven the ends, but I haven't cut them. I want to check the fit. And then in case I have to undo the weave-ins and so I haven't checked the fit yet. That's why you see things poking out. But listen, you can make this in an afternoon. And I'm not exaggerating. At a stretch, you can make it in a weekend. I thought the cowl can be for the month of September. So we start on the 1st, we end on the 30th of September. And that's like 4 weekends or something. Like it's plenty time, I think, to be able to knit this, maybe even knit some more. It's such a pleasure to knit. It's a real kind of dopamine hit because you start it and you're done and you put it on and it's lovely and you think, oh, I could make another. It's nice to stash bust. It's nice if you have, odds and ends. Like I said, hey, I've got my husband's always annoyed with me because, this is the family. This is like the kitchen scale. And I'm always scurrying it away to weigh my projects and my wool, and he can't find it when it's time to cook. Okay, I'm just weighing it here. Indeed, it says 85 grams. Who doesn't have 85 grams just hanging about? And this was DK. I do want to say about the cowl. I'll do some logistics about the cowl maybe before we end. But oops, those are my kids' toys. But the cowl, like maybe you don't like this pattern, and you want something else. There's some gorgeous patterns. Pearl Soho has one. I saw that Gregoria Fibers has one. So I'll post those as alternatives in case you want something. I liked this because it was free. I liked it because it was simple. And I wanted to have something that everybody can join in, even people who are just learning. But maybe you want to do something slightly more complicated or with slightly different look. And you're very welcome to do so. I'm not, we're non-partisan as far as patterns are concerned for this cowl. So you can bring a pattern and do what you want. And you could play around with this, by the way. You could stripe this. You could two-color it. I created my own pearl bumps. You could create more pearl bumps and do funny things, and you could put eyelets in it if you wanted. I think you can really play around with this. And she has 2 options for the decreases. So I think the next one, I can't really tell the difference between the options, but I think it's a subtle little difference she has between the decreases, and I'll try the second option when I do my second one. So that's this finished object and the cowl announcement. Come on, join the cowl. Come on, it'll be fun. Okay, and then I have one last finished object. But first, the sun. Hang on. Okay, I changed the sun a little bit. Changed the sun like I'm a witch. But like I drew the curtain. Last finished objects. If you recall, my husband's socks, like house slippers that I made from the Simple Garter. I remember I made a bunch of the Simple Garter slippers, I think they're called. I talked about that in my second podcast called Knitting for Others, if you want to check it out. But I made lots and lots of those, and it's a wonderful pattern. And I've made them over the years, and my husband wears them devotedly, but they're full of holes. In fact, they're full of holes, so he wears 3 at the same time. One was way too big. It was early days when I was making some of those, and one is too big, and one is this, and one is that. So he wears all 3 together, and I saw him. I thought, oh, you poor man, let me make you a new pair of slippers. And so I wanted to look for a different pattern, because while I love the Simple Garter slippers, they don't cover the ankles. Which is fine, I guess, in like autumn or spring when it's a little bit of a cool evening. But like in winter, I find that quite annoying for my pair. So I wanted to find a new pattern. And I stumbled on this wonderful pattern by Verily Knits called the Woodland Warmers. And it's a paid for pattern. But when I remembered that they also have the Woodland loafers. So the nice thing about the Woodland Warmers is they come up like a boot, so it covers the ankle. The Woodland loafers would be lower down and doesn't cover the ankle. But I know that I heard about the loafers when I was watching an episode of Wool Needle's Hands, because she talked about it and loves it and made a bunch for her family. Anyway, so that's just a little aside. But I cast on and I made my husband a new pair of slippers. I think I went quite a bit higher than she asked for. But I really wanted to make sure the ankles were covered. And I'm definitely going to make myself a pair. How did I make this? I made this out of, I wanted to show you, excuse the crinkles, if you hear any crinkles. If you recall, I talked about having ordered a plate of plutolopi. I think this is in this color spruce green. I love it so much. I wonder if you can see, it's got little things of blue in it. It's got little things of orange and white. It's obviously mainly green, but it's actually a wonderful combination of colors. So I held the plutolopi, and it was my first time working with plutolopi. I have worked with manchalopis, which is considerably more delicate, I just want to say, than the plutolopi. Doing the manchalopis, there were many times when it did break, despite being super careful, and then I would just tie it back in, splice it back in. This didn't break once making these loafers, not once. Now, maybe what helped me was I held it, pardon the crinkles, I held it with this. I held it with this sock yarn that I had in stash that I've wanted to use for a while. I bought it on a whim and the colors never really excited me. But actually, I think it's been really interesting. I love how it's come out, knitting it with the plutolopi. And so I held it with this, and I wonder if clearly that would have made it stronger. I did that deliberately to get gauge, but also I just want to make this thing strong. I don't want to find any holes in this thing, at least not for some years. So I thought this is sock yarn, it's got nylon in it. I thought by holding it with this, that would do me good. I knit it on 4.5 millimeter needles. And yeah, I got gauge fine. I did gauge swatch. Should we talk about swatching? I did, initially I wasn't swatching. I normally swatch, actually. I normally swatch, come on. I just think, swatching for me is like an opportunity to play at being class captain. You're just being the older child. You're just doing the right thing. It's the right thing to do, to swatch. And all the other places in one's life where one cuts corners, this is a place where you can let me just do the right thing. So I was not swatching, and I was trying to find a pattern and just quickly, and it wasn't working. And I just thought, why give myself that stress? Because the stress of not swatching is the constant question of, is it going to fit? Is it going to fit? Is it going to fit? If I follow the instructions, is it going to fit? So I just swatched. I thought I'll just swatch you, Andy. So I swatched, and I swatched, and this is a lovely trick. I learned it watching, I watched an episode of The Knitting Traditions, or something it's called. And she said, when you swatch, you use pearl bumps to remind yourself what needle you used. Maybe you have other ways of, I don't go and stick this in a book and write and things like that. I don't have time for that. But I love this little system because it means that, it means that if it's likely that I will knit with plutolopi again and maybe want to hold it with that. And it'd be nice to remember what fabric I got using what needle. So I do save my swatches. In fact, I think maybe I'll show you my swatches. Should I show you my swatches? Do we know each other well enough? So I did swatch, and I remembered why I love swatching. I do mostly, when I swatch, wash it. Not wash it, I dunk it in some water and put it on the windowsill to dry. If you're gonna do it, do it. I love swatching. When I swatch, I feel diligent. I feel diligent and proper. You know what I mean? And it's a nice feeling. I won't lie, I feel a little superior as well when I swatch. A little superior, just a little. Let's look at this wonderful thing. They're lovely, and my husband put them on. Now, funny story. well, let's talk a bit about this and how it's made, because it's the first time I'm talking about this on this chat. I will make many more. I will make many more. And I made this one evening and this one the next. Again, super quick knit. Not much. I wanted to weigh. Where did my thing go now? I just had that thing. There it is. I want to weigh. I'm going to weigh it. I'll weigh them both to see how much. Yeah, the whole thing. So that's both obviously the whole thing. It weighs both pairs. So it weighs about 81 grams. Okay, so that means that the plotolopi comes in a 100-gram cake. I want to see how much of it is left, so there's 60 grams left. So it means I use 40, which means I can still get another pair holding it with the sock yarn out of this, and even have more left to do something funky with the little bit left. So I love that, and it's good to remember, because I think I'm going to order some more plotolopi. This is my trial of plotolopi. I love it. I love it for hands and feet. I'm not sure I could live with this on my neck. I guess it could make outerwear from it, but I think you'd need quite a few grams to make that outerwear. I'm not sure. I guess you could hold it double as well. But for now, I'm going to use this for hands and feet. I'm going to order some more. It's very affordable. That's what I love about it. So it's 300 meters and 100, I think that's that, right? 100 grams. I don't know if it's 300 meters. I stand corrected. But I know it's 100-gram plates. And I will get more, and I'll make myself slippers. I will make my brother, his wife, my other brother, his wife. I'm just going to, and it'll be my gift knit. We're coming out of winter now, so, I might put it up in the cupboard, and when winter comes around again, if I want to gift anybody anything around winter time, I'll be doing these. It's a quick knit. Now, it's a wonderful pattern. I really want to, it's a wonderful pattern. I cannot recommend it more. It is the Olympics of short rows, of wrap and turns. This is it's like the Olympics of wrap and turn. She has you just like, she has you working. You really feel like an athlete. You feel like a short rowist. You know what I mean? It's wonderful. You feel very clever. And the reason you feel clever is because the pattern is clever. And this is the beauty of a designer, like a really good designer, where you end up feeling like kind of proud of yourself. But it's wonderful, detailed, so thoughtful pattern. You'd first knit, you cast on a few stitches and you knit the sole, the sole of the foot. And you shape it, you do increases and decreases and shape it. And you in the end, you have almost like a funny rhomboidy shape, for the sole of the foot. I know it's not going to be easy to show you that now, but you have this kind of sole and it feels kind of rhomboidy, if I'm using the right geometric term. And then what do you do? Then you pick up the sides. Then you pick up all the side stitches, and now you're in the circle, because you knit flat first the sole, then you get in the round, and then you start these short rows. You start these incredible short rows. I mean, it's one of those things where you just follow her instructions, and then you just see this thing happen in front of you, and it's pretty awesome. It's worth it. It's a paid pattern, but it's worth it. I can see that I will be using this for many years. So you do this incredible amount of shaping until you eventually have reduced finally to just the few stitches that she says you end with, and then you knit the cuff is knit. I think this is called broken rib. It's hard to see the break because of the variegation in the yarn. I wasn't going to be too fussy about matchy, but all I tried to make sure was I started it with the same color that I started the other one on. And in the end, actually, they match perfectly. So, I mean, that's pleasant. I mean, I think it's fine if they didn't match perfectly. I mean, my husband puts anything on his feet, quite frankly. As in, he just wants to keep his feet warm. I got some. But I kind of like that they're a pair. Now, one thing that happened, which I think is worth mentioning, when you're binding off she says that it's perfectly fine to just do a normal, I think it's called a lifted bind off, just the normal bind off, nothing fancy, not tubular, not anything. But it has to be quite stretchy. And she had advised that she said bind off loosely. And if you're a tight knitter, bind off with a needle, like a bigger needle. I think I'm a tight knitter. I think I am. I mean, I'll go back and forth on it. But I just thought, probably it's fine. So I just bound off loosely. And sure enough, when he struggled to get it on over his heel. I had tested it on my foot. We have about the same length of foot because I have quite long feet, but his feet are broader than mine. My feet are quite narrow. And so I had got it on fine, but he struggled. And I didn't like seeing him. And I thought over time, that's not going to be good for the fabric. And so I picked out the bind off. And I did as she said, and I ended up binding off on a 6. So I went up 1.5, in fact, and I bound off on a 6, and that's perfect. So he's dying. Like I had to grab these from him because I said I wanted to show them on my show today, but I will send them right back to him to go onto his feet. And that's my last finished object. Now, I said works in progress. I lied because actually I don't have any works in progress. I have plans. I mean, I just bound this off yesterday and I haven't managed to put anything else on my needles. So I actually have nothing on the needles, but I have plans. I thought I was going to make similar for my kids, but the smallest size she has, I think is too big. I'll check, but I think it's too big for them at the moment. And if it is, then what I will do with the kids, if you remember, I talked about this in a previous episode. I've got all these colors, sorry for the noise, but I've got all these colors that the children love that they've selected over time. They need socks, but I think I'm over making socks for my children at the moment. They are 5 years old. They are very active 5-year-old children, and the socks are coming back with holes, the ones I've made for them so far. And I just, I'm practical in my knitting for children. I'm pretty practical when it comes. I'm not very sentimental. So when it comes to knitting for kids. So I said to them, I was like, I think we're past the knitted socks like when you get older and you're not, because they wear those socks out in the playground. They don't put shoes on, they don't take the socks off, they wear the socks and they go and they climbing on rocks, and doesn't matter how much nylon you got in here. This isn't made for that. So I realized, okay, I'll pause the sock knitting for them when they were younger and doing less of that. It worked. When they're older and doing less of that, it will work. But we're in a period where I will just buy commercial socks for them. But what I can do is make them the simple garter slipper update, because I think they're a bit big for the previous ones I made, or make the smallest size of this and let them grow into it over time, because it might be slightly bulky, but in another year or so, it'll fit perfectly. So that's something that's going to go on my needles, and I will be using, these colors. I mean, first I probably have to untangle these. I hope it doesn't give you a headache to see. Let me give you a headache. Does that give you a headache? I don't mind untangling. I don't know how I let it get this way. I'm a little bit more organized now, but I think I bought this last year and I think I was pretty new and I messed up the ball winding and whatever. I also recovered, that's worth talking about, I recovered some yarn from older socks that had holes that I just thought not worth fixing, but let me recover yarn from them. And I love this about knitting, that you can recover yarn. And in fact, there was one last thing I wanted to talk about. Yes, I think I'm going to recover this yarn as well. So these are really old and there's a hole. And I just thought, what's the point? I already fixed it. Where did I fix it? There's more holes and there's more holes. I'd fixed a bit here, but now it's coming off again. So I thought, you know what? Time to repurpose this. The pink is still a beloved color of one of my sons. I might not get much out of the cuff and the cuff, toe and heel, but I think I could get quite a bit from the pink and I could repurpose that. So I'm going to unpick that. And I did that already with this. And I love that about knitting, like the repurposing, like this, the day I get tired of this, I just dismantle it and I make something else with that beautiful fiber. So what a wonderful craft to be involved in that has that life cycle. I'm sure there's a proper term for it, but that kind of way of life cycle where you can constantly, recreate. So that's going to go on my needles. I said it's going to either be a Woodlands warmer or it would be the simple garter. What else am I about to cast on? So there are some garments that I'm going to cast on. Not imminent, but I would say in another 10 days to 2 weeks. I want to knit a Vilma top. I have bought that pattern and I have tried to make it at least 3 times and something's gone wrong. And I think I've said before, lace shows me flames. Lace shows me flames. And what I've learned about lace, even if they don't give you the instructions, I need to put markers when I'm starting the pattern, when I'm doing the repeat, because I always mess it up. I haven't gotten past like the 3rd row of this pattern and I've tried it 3 times. But I am going to make it. I have the yarn. It is Aran weight yarn. I got it at a sale. And it's this wonderful brown yarn, which I think will be actually quite nice. And it's just your wonderful African Harmony, 100% merino wool. So I bought enough for sweater's quantity and I wouldn't need all of it for the Vilma top because it's just although the other thing I sometimes think about with the Vilma is I could turn it into a cardigan. One project did that. Beautiful cardigan. It's like dark blue if you go into the projects. And I wonder if I could do that, just make long sleeves. So I might do that because I have enough for that. If not, I'll just make it the vest. But I love the pontel. I love I just think it's wonderful. And I love Gregoria fibers. I want to knit more of their stuff. But this will hopefully be I finally need to do it. The other thing I want to knit, I think, using this yarn that I got at the same sale. We're back to my trusty deep navy blue. This yarn is called Mode at Rowan, chunky wool. I have 800 meters of it and I want to knit, and I'll show you my swatch. I did a swatch. I want to knit the Wabi Sabi cardigan. I did a swatch using, see that you can just count your 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I used a 5. You never know how many. Okay, so this is my swatch. I wondered if it was a bit too spacey, but I think it's fine. I love that this will be the thickest yarn I've ever knit with. And I like the Wabi Sabi. It's going to be like quite jackety. And it's the other side. And so I'm going, as you see, I don't knit a full like 10 centimeter swatch. I just think we can do the math for that. There I cut a bit of a corner. But yeah, I always do a little swatch just to check. Particularly, another wonderful thing about the swatching is to check the fabric. If you like the fabric, and obviously to check. And I think that's quite nice. I wasn't sure. I thought, is it holy? But I don't think it's holy. If you're pulling it apart, but nobody's going to come up to me and pull apart my Wabi Sabi. I think that's perfectly fine. Okay, so I'm going to knit that. And then lastly, an imminent plan I have is to make my husband another sweater. So I've made him the Toff sweater. And I wanted to make him a lovely green sweater. Excuse the crinkly sounds. I want to pull out what I'm going to use. I got this from Hobby. Again, my brother was coming down from the States and I could order this at a very reasonable price. So I got a sweater's quantity of this Highland wool, 100% Peruvian wool. I wanted to test it on my partner because he's not sensitive. It's really affordable, so I wanted to test it on him to see he wouldn't mind, and then I would check it to see if I didn't mind it, and then I would know for future that I could buy this wool for myself or to make something for myself. It is, I would say it's light DK. I'm just looking what it says on the label. It's 175 meters and 50-gram ball. And it's 24 stitches by 31 rows. It's light, yeah. So it's a DK, but it feels a bit on the light side of DK. And then I'm going to hold it with this Skarkenmeyer. I think it's Skarkenmeyer. Yes. Skarkenmeyer, pronouncing it correctly, elegant mohair, which is really affordable. I've said that before. I find it very affordable here. I find it scratchy. My partner doesn't mind the scratchiness. And it makes a really nice fabric. Oh my goodness, I did a swatch. I'm going to show you showing you my swatches today. This is a day of showing you swatches. I did that swatch, and I did it with I used the 4 millimeter, and I love what it does. You know, I love the combo with the two colors. It really, really, really nice. And so I want to make him something. Now, initially I thought, I want to make something with cables just because I want to practice cables. But I realized, because I was showing him patterns, I showed him some petite knit patterns, and he's like, too busy, simpler. So I thought, oh, how interesting. He really wants fairly simple, nothing fussy. I can get behind that. So I think we've agreed on something. I'm going to put it up there because the name escapes me now. But it's a very simple, it's got like a sort of a top texture and then just stockinette at the bottom. And because he said he wanted seed stitch. I don't know whether he genuinely likes seed stitch or he heard me talking about seed stitch, but he said, I'd like seed stitch. I'm like, okay. And it's kind of seed stitchy at the top and then just stockinette at the bottom, and really nice. So I'm looking forward to making that for him. And I think I have enough yarn for it. So that gives you a sense of, I guess, what's about to happen in terms of my knitting plans. So let us move now to the last item on today's episode, which is an update on the pinboard. Gosh, there's so much fun stuff happening. I reached out, so I can officially say that both Noma and Ndlovu, a local designer here in South Africa, she's based in Johannesburg actually, and Miensie van Zyl, a local hand dyer, also based in Johannesburg, both of them know I exist. I wrote to them, they responded, we're in correspondence, they know I exist, they have graciously withstood my harassment. No, they've graciously withstood my inquiries, and they have agreed to be interviewed. We have set up interview dates. Guys, it's happening, it's imminent. I'm very excited. I've written up all my questions, and I'm trying to think, how do I do the interview? It's 2 people, not 1. It's not going to be here in my home. It'll be at locations or in some of their spaces. But I don't know. I'm just stupid with joy. So I look forward to doing those interviews, and I really, really look forward to bringing them to you. I just had an idea. I literally just had an idea now. Do you have anything you want me to ask them? Okay, so I'm interviewing Miensie van Zyl, who is the creator, the maker, the brains behind Knotty Habit yarn. And I don't know, is there anything you want me to ask her? Put it in the comments, let me know, or write me an email. Let me know. And also, I'm interviewing Noma and Ndlovu. I mean, she's got so many designs on Ravelry. We've watched her kind of transform her ideas about design and where she wants to go as a designer. She has a podcast where she talks about her designs and how she thinks about them. I love her patterns. I'm still plucking up the courage to say I'm going to knit the Zukanya dress. I know that there were some great suggestions about what yarn to use, and I have some concerns about the Zukanya dress. I'm concerned that it's a dress. I'm concerned that I want something hardy. I don't want to make it out of cotton because I think it's going to be too heavy. I don't want to make it out of something that is then going to just get holes in it. You're going to be sitting on a dress, so you need the area around the derriere to be fairly, strong. So I have some concerns, what's the best yarn to make it out of? She makes it out of Perle Soho silk, which looks amazing, but I have no access to, and even if I did, I'm not sure I could afford it. So, I mean, imagine I could make this out of knitting for olive pure silk. Again, I don't have easy access to it, but also it's the price of silk. So, I don't know. how to make it affordable for me. So I'm going back and forth, maybe a linen, maybe I just save up, over time and gift the yarn to myself at the end of the year or something as a Christmas gift, or I don't know. Or I crowdsource. Crowdsourcing for the Zukanya dress. Anyway, point is, she's an incredible designer. What do you want me to ask her? Is there anything if you could have half an hour with a designer, what would you ask them? So anyway, that's coming. That's really coming. And I wanted to update you on that. Let me think. What else? I haven't managed to, I've kind of sent little furtive messages to Abubakar for Fana, but he's a busy guy and he knows many people and he's got like a zillion followers. So I didn't expect that any of that would be useful. I think there's a local artist or designer that may have a connection to him. And so I'm going to, it's about, you meet people through other people. So I'm going to see if I can I'd love to interview him, in fact. The other thing that's on the cards, there's an amazing book called The History of Blue. I'll put the cover there. And it's by a writer called Nana Akua Bruhammand, an amazing writer. And this book that she wrote about the color blue, it's a beautiful book. I have it on order. The minute it's here, I will kind of show you some of the beautiful pictures inside it and show you the object, because the book is also a very beautiful object. But I want to actually interview her and talk about blue. So I'm going to do an episode sometime in the future, an ode to blue, and we'll talk about blue and the history of blue and the history of trying to find blue. It's apparently one of the hardest colors to find in nature, in terms of dyeing, trying to pin it down. And I think I know that because I've been trying to find blue in my dyeing adventures, and it's not easy. So I think that's all for today. I'm just looking through my notes in case I forgot anything. I think one question I have is, what are you working on? Some people have been talking about what they're working on. Thank you for all your comments. I read those comments. I love those comments. I read them and I engage because it feels to me like we're sort of across the room, where you're across the room and you're commenting on something and telling me this or advising on that. And I so appreciate them. I just wanted to let you know that. And thank you for making those comments. It's funny. There are many podcasters I listen to, and for a long time, I didn't really remember to like or subscribe or comment. And only since starting my own podcast, now when I'm watching the podcast that I love, I go back and I like, and of course I've made sure I've subscribed and I have commented. So, it does make a difference, and I can see that. So I do it now when I watch podcasts, and I implore you to do the same. Let me know what you're working on. If there's anything you recommend, and it'd just be great to know. It'll be great to know. Feel free to send me emails if you're into emails, because maybe that way you could send an actual picture of something you're working on that you love. If there's something you want me to talk about on the show, you could send me a picture. I would happily share an object you made that you want to share with others. I don't know if that's interesting to you, but if you wanted something like that, I'd be so pleased to do something like that. And I think we can wrap up. I mean, I've made the CAL announcement. This is the announcement, the big announcement. I think it's going to go from the 1st to the 30th. I'll put some of the details up, just all the grouped details. From the 1st to the 30th of September. So you have time to get your material. You have time to make sure you have the needles. It's a free pattern. It's an easy pattern. It's cute. You only need 1 skein or less if you're using DK weight. And I just think it's interesting. And then you can use another pattern if you want and still join the CAL. I'm calling it the #EveryBeret CAL. And I'm going to post on Instagram about the CAL. And the other thing I am going to do is I'm going to do a tutorial. Just one video that's a tutorial of me knitting it. I'll release that closer to the start date. But I will do like a tutorial trying to, as best I can, because you need those really good overheads. I have a plan to do an overhead shot, but it will have it might have its gremlins, but I'll try and do a tutorial for anybody watching that maybe doesn't feel confident doing increases or decreases or, the ribbing. I'll just show. It's not going to be everything, so I will link maybe to, for instance, Very Pink Knits is my go-to for learning anything. So I'll link to her channel because that would have a lot of the basics explained wonderfully. But at least if just to handhold a little bit for people who need it. And really, I think that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you as always, just for being here in this space with me. I love this so much. I love knitting, and then I love talking to people about knitting. And I'm grateful to have, you here engaging with me on this thing that I love so much. Let's do the Cal. It's a way that we can engage a bit better. Maybe, I don't know if I'm gonna, I know some people put the Cal up on Ravelry. That feels higher grade. I don't know if I will work that out, but maybe I could do that. But we could then meet in Instagram and chat about it. I don't know how, but I like the idea of a Cal because I think it brings us together as a community, and we have this focus, and a very easy focus, quite frankly, and a really pleasant one. So I hope you join the Cal. I think to join the Cal, how do you join the Cal? You just join. Like, is there some official start button? That's the start day. Maybe on the first day, I will do a picture on Instagram of all my materials, the needles, the wool I'm using, something like that. And I'll do a picture and I'll post it and I'll do hashtag every beret. And then anyone else who's joining can do something similar. But I mean, you can also just do it. But what I do ask is use the hashtag so that we know that you're in with us. All right. Till next time, just take care and happy making whatever you're making, and ciao.